Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we have the most epic video about making video games great again. So we have the guys from Pixelmatic. We have Samson Mow. He's the CEO of Pixelmatic, and he's also got many hats as well. He's a hat maker. He is also chief strategy officer at Blockstream. We also have Chris Wood. He is the COO of Pixelmatic. They're making this super awesome space game, Infinite Fleet. And this is something that I'm super excited for, like just from my personal background. So I've known Samson before crypto, right? I've known him before crypto. He was one of the first people who brought me into crypto. And before crypto, I visited his office once and we saw these spaceships in his office, right? I'm like, oh, what's up with these spaceships? What's happening? That was Infinite Fleet, the origins of Infinite Fleet. And it's right now very close to finishing its alpha, and it's raising an STO round as well. So there's a lot of excitement that's happening and a lot of deliverables that's happening right now. I think it's super exciting time to talk about it and to actually make gaming great again, because that's a big priority. Like that's a low hanging fruit and we got to make it. So Samson, can you just talk about how you got inspired, what's happening, catch us up on what's happening with Infinite Fleet?
Yeah, so the idea behind Infinite Fleet is to make this epic space game that you can actually build your own legend. You can make your own story, write your own story, and leave your mark on the world. I think a lot of it has to do with my experience playing MMO games in the past, where you spend years of your life engrossed in this game, and then later on, what do you have to show for it? Nothing. So we wanted to change this and basically pivot the whole game industry into this new genre called directed narrative games, where the players can actually write the story and leave that mark. And what they do can live on in time after the game ends, because every game has a shelf life of 10 years, maybe more. But after that, it'd be nice if you could leave something behind. And I love sci-fi. I'm a big Star Trek fan, and nothing out on the market really satisfied my need to my need of collecting and customizing spaceships and fighting with it. So this is why Infinite Fleet.
Exactly. And I think we connected a lot over MMOs. I mean, I've had a huge gaming background in World of Warcraft. I've also played a huge lot of EVE Online. And I've also played Samson's game, which is Company of Heroes. That's such a great strategy game. Just super great, relic entertainment. Like that, I spent like years on that. So this is how we really connected. And I definitely see his passion and vision, because that's something that kind of really carried out. So customizing your own spaceship, making a world. And this is something that's, we saw with World of Warcraft. This is something that was a trend that gamers liked it, but we don't see that trend recently. A lot of games are very fast food games, right? So like, how do you want people to go into this world? How are you going to build this world where people really want to go and make their mark, make their mark on the world?
Yeah, so we're spending a lot of effort on the lore and the science fiction behind it. So one of my criticisms or critiques about the sci-fi game genre is they're not very focused on the attention to detail and making it a plausible story. So one problem I have with Star Trek is the universe is not really believable. It's supposed to be utopian. There's no money because everything's free, but then they still have money. They have platinum, and they still have trade with different planets and species using this money, but then there is no real money. But technically, if everything is free, you could mine that and you would essentially make it valueless. Like if we could go into space right now and mine gold from the asteroid belt, then gold prices would plummet. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So the suspension of belief and immersion into the universe, I think, is a very important component of Infinite Fleet that we want to really get right. And I think also like bringing people in and getting them involved in this directed narrative where they write the story, I think it'll have a large appeal, just because no other game on the market does that. A lot of games say you can choose your path, you can make choices and affect the outcome, but that's not really the case. So
it's a Mass Effect, right?
Yeah, Mass Effect is just like a total letdown in that regard. But we are actually going to deliver on that promise. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's a good point that you talk about immersion. And I think that immersion and volition is something that people just really want in MMO games. There's a reason that people play MMOs as opposed to something like Call of Duty, right? An MMO is almost a second life where you have some different identity, where you have an impact on hundreds of thousands, if not millions of players. You're writing some incredible story. And what we want is that we are a hero, right? That we are in this legacy of a game. And so what we want to do is really leverage that. So as you were saying with the directed narrative, I always use the analogy like if the Atrox, our alien race, come to Earth to try and destroy it, the community of players have to come back together and fight back the enemy. And if they fail, then Earth could be completely destroyed. Key characters could be wiped out. And that changes the entire story of the game, where humanity becomes this nomadic spacefaring race. And you were part of that battle. You were the MVP. Or, well, if you lost, then perhaps the MVP is not the right word, but you know what I mean.
The brown coats.
Yeah, it was your fault, actually.
It's your fault. It's going to haunt you for life. So that's actually really hard to do. And I think that's the great thing about games, right? Like it really immerses you in that fantasy world. And I think that was a very big driver. So I think like that's, it's a very ambitious challenge, right? So, how are you guys preparing for that? I mean, I think the reason why a lot of games, they promise this like, oh, it's two things I pointed out. Samson was very sensitive to the economy. So that immersion into the economy. And then Chris, you're very sensitive to narrative, right? Like and the possibility of failure, right? So these things are actually really hard to build out, right? So first of all, economy is really hard to build up. Also, a real true narrative is hard to build up. That's why people create pseudo narratives. So how are you going to do this? I mean, this is such a big challenge. How are you going to even try to build this?
I think it comes. Sorry, do you want to go ahead, Samson?
You go first.
Okay. I think it comes in tiering different levels of volition, right? So on an individual level, we might have things like things that we drop in this deep universe that people could discover. Let's say someone discovers stealth, which it's always been there, for someone to discover it. But you, as the person who gets it, Boxmining finds stealth technology, and that is then available for everybody. And it's some just huge moment where you are that the discoverer of that, which is wonderful. On a larger scale, of course, like I mentioned, the Earth scenario. That would be a big raid or a big event that might take over, a period of a month or something. At which point, we'd of course have writers that go, okay, if this fails, what's going to happen? If this succeeds, what's going to happen? And we go from there. And we don't necessarily have, 100,000 tree branches going on for 5 years, because it's unrealistic. Like you say, it will be done in the way we can do it for the future as such, and branch down those paths. And like I say, I mean, like in the real world, really, the things that we do affect the future. And that's the way we're going to approach it.
Yeah, it's kind of like right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like writing a series, like kind of a television series, and then the player is kind of determine the outcome, right? And then they kind of have to move on from there. So you don't have to make a bunch of things that don't happen. You can just kind of see how things go, right?
Yeah, it's choose your own adventure. It's D&D, I mean, in D&D, the players go, the DM sets the scene, and what the players do then kind of direct that narrative.
Yeah,
Nice.
It's like Bandersnatch, but like multiplied by 1,000, like you're actually really going to have an impact. So you mentioned Company of Heroes, right? One of the things that we were famous for in Company of Heroes is environmental destruction. Like when you're fighting on that map, you can deform the terrain, you can blow up that house, and that affects gameplay. You take that to the next level, and it's really the world, the universe, the galaxy. It'll actually have an imprint based on what the players are doing, and that will persist. So, there are real stakes. And I think most game developers are lazy. They don't want to implement these new daring systems. They don't want to, for them, it's like an art project. I'm writing a story, and you click through my story that I prepared for you, and then you reach the end. But for us, it's more about creating objectives. So if you think of the game, it's this massive board with different objectives, and the players can choose which objectives they go and tackle, and then that will unlock new objectives. And they can always pull back and go down a different tree. But they can also proceed at multiple objectives at the same time if there's enough players and enough army and firepower to tackle those objectives. But it's really up to them. We have a general idea of how the story is going to unfold, major narrative arcs of things that will happen, betrayals, backstabbing, subterfuge, whatnot, or even new alien races. But, it's up to the players to unlock that in the sequence that collectively they decide on.
Definitely. I think that's cool. I think a big memory of Company of Heroes was like, you're talking about environments and stuff. And like, if you're it's set in World War II and you have these tanks and you have these soldiers. And when tanks blow up and die, they become cover, right? People can take cover behind the tanks, and there's environmental factors you have to factor in, and the strategies that evolve as you play the game, right? So I feel like that's very, very cool. And that's like, it does make sense. You're kind of expanding that. So obviously, you're building out this huge universe, right? It involves an economy. Where's the crypto element there? I mean, obviously, you talked a bit about the crypto element, the race element. Can you just tell me how the currency and the economy of the game works?
Yeah, Chris.
Shall I go? Yeah, okay. So the INF token is basically it's an in-game currency that
Maybe
players are...
Explain the dual token model. There's two tokens.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, good idea.
And just scale back all the way to economy, I guess what would players, I don't know, just make it for dummies, because this is, we're sometimes we go very deep into gaming because we're all game devs, and then some people one's like, okay, what the fuck is an MMO, right? I suddenly realized that when Samson mentioned it, I was like, what the fuck is an MMO, right? Like, we gotta define that shit. So explain it to people who have never ever. They don't know what the fucking MMO is, right? That's key.
Okay. All right.
They only play Candy Crush. They've only played Candy Crush. Right?
Got it.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So we're releasing 2 tokens. One token is called the EXO token, which is purely a security token. It's essentially shares in our company. That is totally and completely separate from our INF token, which kind of runs the currency of the game. So how that works really is that when players take part in these missions, these raids or whatever, the MVPs or the people that really, have some impact on those missions are rewarded with an in-game digital currency, this INF. Now, what you can do with that is take that into a marketplace where I can buy and sell ships. Okay, so obviously in massively multiplayer online games, people spend thousands of hours on these games making, fleets, making spaceships that are really cool, configuring them and all this kind of thing. And over time, they have really incredible intrinsic value. In games like Eve, there's things that go like for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, right? I mean, there was that huge battle where there was like hundreds of thousands of dollars wasted because people blew up their ships and things. So the INF token allows players, it gives them the utility to transact with other players their ships. So I buy from you a ship, I give you some INF tokens, okay? Now, then what you can do on the cryptocurrency side is extract that into your digital wallet and then take that. You have portability, you can take that to exchanges should you wish, which essentially gives you a route to value from the time that you've invested. People put years of their lives into these games, right? I mean, we lose so much, and you can actually extract value from that. So it's a whole new paradigm shift for gaming. It's like this play to earn model, which is really just in its nascent days, and it's such an exciting new wave. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I'll add something here too. So if you look at games like StarCraft or Warcraft or Dawn of War, Company of Heroes, there is this resourcing component and a combat component, and you're kind of doing both at the same time. Like in Company of Heroes, it's territory, right? But it's the same thing. You're resourcing. For Infinite Fleet, we wanted to separate that out and make it more realistic, because if you're going to war, you're not going to be, building a base behind you and mining minerals and Vespine gas, right? So we want players to, not enough minerals. We want players to build in their downtime, and then when they want to play, then they go out and fight in these combat PvP arenas and whatnot, and eventually PvP. But when you're off, off work or whatever, or even if you're at work, you can manage your bases, manage your resourcing, and you might have players that just focus on resourcing. So Chris mentioned the auction house. This is kind of like a gateway for all players to interact and trade with one another. So you could be a builder, and your focus is on buying ships from Infinite Fleet, upgrading them to level 99, tweaking them out, and then selling them for INF currency. You might be a player that's very focused on combat. You're fighting the Aatrox, and you just want to fight all day long in battle. Then you'll earn INF because you're participating in these missions and advancing the story, and you can take that and trade it with a player that's building. Or you might be a player that likes to mine, because the economy is also a mining or resource-driven economy too. So you're mining from asteroids, from planets, from moons, and then you're refining it, and then you can take those raw materials and fabricate ship parts and upgrade the ship. So it's a very rich economy, but still accessible to players. And we want to support all types of players that have different play styles and different interests.
Yep. And I think that's the core thing about gaming, right? I got very, very deep into gaming, and it's like each video game has its own economy, right? That's the craziest part about building these massively multiplayer video games, where everything it feels like another world, and that's what makes it so attractive too. So this is really going back to the roots of the MMO world, where there is economy. And I still remember, I played EVE Online. I just sat as a trader all day. I think that's where my trading. I love trading, right? That's it's like I sat in GT4. That's all I did. Like, do I have a boat? No, do I have a ship? No, I don't have a ship. What's a ship, right? I just have materials. I just have resources, and then that's how I play the game. And everyone plays in a different way. So Infinite Fleet is going to have a fully fleshed economy. So that's a digital economy based on the INF token, which is also a cryptocurrency. So you can take that out and be in crypto, right? So that's what I'm getting. So the INF token is the in-game section of it. So that's that kind of runs the video game side, right? So you have that, and then you also have a second token, which is the share side, right? So that's more of an investment token, right? Not just in the game, but the game company, right? So that's kind of the dual token model, I guess.
Yeah.
So a lot of games, they have an economy, like you mentioned, but they don't allow players the freedom to do with the currency what they want. So World of Warcraft, obviously there's a massive economy in there, and there's a secondary market, but Blizzard doesn't like that, and they don't want you trading World of Warcraft gold. But we think it's okay, and it is acceptable.
But recently they changed that, right? Didn't they allow purchasing of subscription fees with in-game gold? That's one-way
that's
trip.
Still a bit different. It's a one-way trip. We want the players to have total freedom with their currency. So you can imagine World of Warcraft Gold, but you can take it out of the game, because ultimately players will find a way no matter what. In Lineage 2, I ran a gold farming operation, so I can tell you firsthand, players will find a way to circumvent it somehow, as long as there's a function to trade in the game. And the other thing is, we are making a very clear delineation between INF, the utility token, that is not sold. That's purely earned by players playing the game. So you can't buy it from us or anything like that. And then the security token is, like you said, it's an investment. You can choose to invest in the game. The public ground is live on Stalker right now for European residents. But for the first time, you can invest in a game that you're going to spend years playing too. And you can't do that with most game projects. If you take Star Citizen, for example, I think they raised 300 million, but those are just donations to the developer. You don't get any share of that or any equity stake in the company at all.
Right. And I think this is something that's really popping up, right? So we've talked about the security token offering, the ownership of companies, right? Because that's what's attractive, right? Like that actually gives you rights, that is a national security. So how is this actually being built around? So like, do you see like people who are interested in the game and interested in investing in the game? Do you feel like that's crypto is opening up this market, right? Because obviously game investing happens over time, right? But usually they're dominated by key players in the industry like Tencent or something like that. They'll just buy everything up, right? But now, do you feel like that with the way technology is moving forward, you get to open up the audience, like open up the audience base? People who like spaceship games, they can invest in this company. People who just want to invest in video games, they can invest in this game. Is technology enabling that, kind of moving that forward?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of technology and regulation. So the regulation side has improved a great deal. So your cost, your challenges, your difficulty of getting something approved has dropped tremendously. Like in the US, the regulations have eased up a lot. They have Reg CF now. We're going for Reg A in the US. So for the current offering on Stalker, it's under EU law, but we plan to offer it in the US under Reg A filing. So I think it is what you said. It's an opportunity now for people to invest, and both the tech, the security token, and the regulation are making it more favorable for people to invest in early stage projects that are otherwise typically reserved for VCs and insiders that have connections. But this is kind of like a crowd fund, but with equity. So it's open to your average Joe or your average player. And I think applying it to a game is actually really great because if you're going to play, you might as well take a chunk of equity as well.
Yeah, it's democratizing the whole process. It's completely democratizing investment. And I think that's really, really wonderful because we're just going to have people who are so invested in the game, both just because they love the game, but also literally have invested in it, which are just going to be ambassadors for it and working with us. I mean, they're essentially our boss, right? At the end of the day, in a way, we've got to make sure that we deliver. It's important to us that the EXO token is valuable. So, they can hold our feet to the fire a little bit on that front. So it's a bit of I think it's a win-win. I think it really allows us to have that good connection.
Yeah,
like some people play World of Warcraft for. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. You go off. You go ahead first. Because I can follow up that.
Okay. So if you imagine like you were going to play EVE Online and you knew you're going to play EVE Online for 5 years, and you could buy a piece of CCP, wouldn't you have done that, right? Like they got acquired, so you would have gotten a payout after a couple of years too. Or World of Warcraft, if you were going to invest, hundreds or even thousands of dollars into this game, wouldn't you also want to invest in Blizzard? Well, Blizzard is kind of semi-public because of Activision, but still, like a new game that was being launched that you were going to play, you could own a chunk of that.
Especially when World of Warcraft was being developed, right? Before all that success, before the market really found it. I mean, Blizzard, I think they didn't even expect the success to be that big, but it was a big windfall for both the company and the investors. But what if it's a big win for the players too, right? Not only are you like killing bosses and downing Illidan and getting your Warglaives of Azeroth, you're also getting a huge mansion on the side and a few Lambos, just a few, right? Just a few. One for so I mean I think that's the key, right? So I think it's getting access. At the same time, obviously it is risky. I think that's what the regulation side is always trying to prevent people from touching the fire, but you need to use fire to cook dinner, so it's not that hard either, right? So okay, so regulation
sorry, there's risk in everything. Like I think the difficulty with needing accredited investors is that you automatically deny a big chunk of the population the ability to invest in something early stage, but then you also have the ability to buy a lottery ticket. So to me, it makes no sense. If people want to invest in something, they should be able to invest. I think the regulation is moving in the correct direction in that regard.
Correct. And I definitely feel like too. I think it's like that literacy, like the financial literacy, it's hard because the schools, no school teaches you how to be financially literate, right? I think like, oh, how do you invest? Like no one, they go, no, we don't want to teach that. That's just too risky, right? But then you have to go out and learn it by yourself. I think that's the wrong way. That's the wrong approach, right? Everyone eventually needs to learn how to expose themselves to investment, right? I think it's something like, I guess for me, I'm more sensitive because I've always wanted to, make money while I was asleep. That was kind of my main primary objective as a kid, like wake up and be like a $2,000 richer. Why not, right? And your crypto dreams. Yes, now I it's a crypto dream, right? That's crypto dream. That's the whole thing. But I think that's the direction the world should be moving into. So how do people find out more? So this is open to more European residents. How do people find out more? How do people get more involved?
The best way is to head over to Stocker. So that's stokr.io.
I'll put the link down below. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, please. Or reach out to us. You can check us out, infinitefleet.com. We've got a page there that kind of outlines everything that's going on with the STO, and it's got a contact form as well. So there's a load of information there. It's all, a lot of it is on Stocker as well. And just reach out to us. Absolutely. We're more than happy to talk. My DMs are open.
Awesome. And also, do you have like the demo? So you see, I heard that you're producing demos for people to see, right? Because obviously, I guess that's the other hard part. You know, how do you get people to visualize this, right? So demo, when's that? When demo?
Alpha is out at the end of this month. So to be honest, when this video drops, it might not be long until the actual alpha's out as well. So we're really excited about that. It is quite narrow in scope. It's a very small alpha. We're hoping to really, have a small sort of core element of the game and then really build it out in a sort of organic way along with the community as such. But like I say, end of this month, we're going to be dropping, and it looks sexy as it looks fantastic. The ships are so badass. You are gonna, you saw the ships when you first came a few years ago. Honestly, I don't know if you've seen them recently, but they're gonna blow your ass off, man.
Nice. I'm excited to see that, man. I'm excited to see that. So definitely check that out, guys. And also, of course, if you guys are part of EU, definitely check that out. And also coming to US soon because Reg A, right? So that's been in a lot of progress. Samson, you want to add a few words before we end this episode?
Yeah, I think definitely check it out and take a look and sign up for the alpha. The plan is to release incrementally. So every month there will be at least one release, and we'll test the feature and, join the dev process. We're developing this out in the open, and we welcome your feedback.
As a story by itself. Game development is it is such a good story. I love that. I mean, the other one is like the God of War development process. I mean, it's full of it's hardship, but rewarding at the end. It's such a good reward. So guys, definitely follow the story of Infinite Fleet development. There's so much that's being covered here. It's a very big challenging task, but honestly, if there's anyone capable of doing it, it's definitely Samson and his team and Chris here. From my gaming experience, these guys were definitely on the top. That's why I know these guys, and they have the chops, the minds to do it, and I definitely want to see this in action. So guys, check it out. Links down below, and definitely thank you, Samson and Chris, for sharing your story with us today. And we'll see you guys very soon. Hopefully, we'll get to play the alpha, and we'll see how it goes. I'll maybe just sit there and trade, and I'll be the biggest trader in the game. Yeah, exactly.
Live stream.
Back on for a live stream. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Cheers, man. Cheers. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.